Hi, and welcome back to Real Talk with Stevie. Today we're going to talk about domestic violence. There's a lot of it going on, especially with this quarantine, and I am a domestic violence survivor. And if my story helps even one person be empowered to be able to get out of that situation or to get the help that they need, if you need to reach out to me at rtwstevie@gmail.com in order to place you with an agency locally to get you out of your situation, go ahead and hit me up. Add me on Facebook on Stevie Reddick, and if you messenger me, whether male or female, include the words "order a pizza." That way I know that it's linked to this video and you need help. I mean, you can even call 911 and tell them you need to order a pizza, and if they ask you, do you know you're calling 911? Yes. That way they know that you're calling, but you can't talk. And there's actually forums for that online if you want to search them up. Now, if you're internet is being monitored, whether it be on your phone or on your home computer, there's actually a hotline that you can go online and submit your problems to. And then they'll reach out to you and get you help. If you can't, or if your internet is monitored, go ahead and call the 1-800 number that I'm going to leave in the description box as well as in the thumbnail of this video. Now, I have been through domestic violence at least a few times in my life. I have been married 3 times for 1 month, and then 9 years, and then 4.5 years. And each one of those showed a different form of abuse, whether it was physical, mental, or emotional abuse. Now, emotional is a little bit harder to get over because you have to completely change your way of thinking. Physical abuse comes with broken bones, bruises, blood, that kind of stuff. Your body can heal. The mind is a lot harder to heal. And I want to tell you that from personal experience. Now, when I was pregnant with my daughter and married to my first husband, we were married about a month and he got back on drugs real bad. And he was sitting on top of either the washing machine or the dryer at his mother's house. And I was standing in front of him and we were talking. The next thing I know, he's strangling me. And he didn't let go until I gave up fight because I was hitting him in the legs and anywhere I could hit. And my left eye was fixed and dilated. And then he was worried. Well, I called my parents that night and they came and picked me up the next morning. So I had to spend one last night there with him. He wasn't happy that I left. He said it would never happen again. I didn't trust it. I was 19 years old. I already had an almost 2-year-old and I had another one on the way. So yeah, I was out of there because I'm not going to subject my child to that. And then I was single for a little while, and then I was married to a man for 9 years who was more of the emotional and controlling and manipulative. Now, this man would tell me how I could wax my eyebrows, how thick they could be, how thin they could be. He always had some snide comments about how I looked. And, there was one point that I had to wear long skirts and a high neck shirt. Otherwise, I was considered a whore. Didn't matter how loyal I was, how faithful I was to him, never talked to anybody, never talked to the opposite sex. I was a whore if I dressed like I normally would now. Now he'd really call me that, but that's okay. There were times that he would shove me or barricade me in our room, wouldn't let me leave. And then it got to the point that when my kids got a little bit older, my son decided he was going to be my protector. And you moms out there that are going through domestic violence, I have seen and heard so much that these kids are standing up for their moms and getting killed or whatever. Now, moms, to you and to you women out there, you need to be strong enough to get you and your kids out of that situation. I know sometimes it takes money. It takes people to get you out of there, but you also have to have the mindset that yours and your children's safety are more important than the man that you love. Because if he does it once, no matter how much he apologizes, how many gifts he buys you those because he's guilty. And it's a way of manipulation. He's going to give you just a little bit to keep you there. Then the next time he gets drunk or the next time that he gets angry, even if you didn't cause it, he's going to blame you and he's going to knock the hell out of you. I mean, whenever my son stood up to my husband at the time and he literally put a BB gun to this guy's head, he grabbed it from him, and my son went and grabbed one of his airsoft guns, one of his CO2 powered airsoft guns. I mean, he was really going to hurt him just because he would not let me out of the room, and I kept telling him to move out of my way. And shortly after that, I ended up leaving him, and it's a hard situation, especially when, say, your own mother won't let you stay with her. Well, I don't want to get involved. It's hard when you don't have money and you're living paycheck to paycheck. You're not used to having a house payment because your house is paid for, and you are not, you're with somebody who says, okay, well, I don't want you working. I want you to stay at home with the kids. Okay. And then you're staying at home with the kids. Well, we need money, so you need to go back to work. And then I go back to work, and then I get accused of cheating. And here again's the emotional abuse. And even though I'm not cheating, I'm going to work, I'm doing my job, I'm coming home, I cook, I clean, I take care of the kids. When I stayed at home with the kids, I homeschooled them. I took care of the yard, I took care of the house, I did everything. So all he had to do was go out and work. He'd come home to a home cooked meal or whatever. And it just got to the point that I had enough. I lost who I was. And, for years, I was still in this thing. Anyways, fast forward, we divorced. And about 6 months later, I was talking to a guy. Well, we were already seeing each other for several months. And because my marriage was over at the 7-year mark. But I didn't cheat on him. And I didn't start talking to this guy until after I moved out. So 6 months later, I remarried to another guy who promised me the world. And it was great at first. We got along great. We did everything. And then the manipulation came in. He would go through my phone just like the ex would. My ex used to go through my tablet all the time. And, back to the 9-year marriage, he would go through my tablet and he would get online to our online account through AT&T. And he would go through and see who I've been texting or calling. Well, I have a good guy friend I've known since high school. And me and him are best friends. We've never dated, never slept together, anything like that. And I was at work one day, and we had already split up at the 7-year mark, mind you. And he was texting my best friend going, hey, she's married, right? Hey, she's married, right? And you're a worthless piece of shit, that kind of stuff. And he's standing right next to me at work. And he looks at me and he goes, can I fuck with them? I said, yeah, go ahead. You have fun with that. And then, I had gotten myself a prepaid phone. Well, I had misplaced it, so I used the contract phone in order to call it. And he also sent me that text message. I'm like, hey, dumbass, it's me. This is my other phone number. I'm like, I had lost this phone, so I used that phone to call it. Oh, no, you're lying. This isn't her, blah, 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 blah. I mean, he was that psycho. And, and then after all this ended, I got away from that emotionally abusive. I mean, it was to the point that while we were married, even when my daughter was just learning how to use Facebook or whatever, she had me and her stepdad on her Facebook, and she added a couple of boys from school. Normal. Little girls are going to add boys from school. And it's not for anything inappropriate. It's to talk, or these are friends that you go to school with. And he looked at her and he goes, you need to stop. I know what you're doing. And she's like, what? And I just looked at him. I said, no, she's not doing what you think she's doing. Now you need to get that out of your damn head. It got to the point that, my daughter resents me for that marriage and the abuse that we went through. But, she don't realize she's never been through what I've been through or what you have been through as a woman. They don't relate. I did what I had to do. I stayed in that thing because, he wasn't letting me be stable and independent on my own. I was very, very codependent with this man because he controlled me emotionally. He controlled me mentally. And I got out of there for my kids. Even though it wasn't really physical abuse, I'm going to tell you now, emotional and mental abuse is way worse than physical abuse. I have been beat. And I will tell you that you can get over a lot more and learn how to protect yourself. But the emotional and the mental scars that go with you from that kind of abuse, it lasts for years. It takes a lot to heal you. And, I'm about ready to cry right now just thinking about it because it's affected my relationship with my daughter. But she don't understand. She's never been in that situation. And I'm going to tell you from personal experience that if you need a way out, get a hold of me. I don't care where you live, I will find somebody in your area that will help you get out. I've been blessed enough to be able to get out. And then back to getting married again after 6 months. This guy started out great. And then one day we got into a fight. He'd been drinking. He was an asshole when he was drunk. And, with the classes I've taken, the self defense classes, that kind of stuff. And I also have a concealed carry. So I know how to use a gun as well. And we were fighting one night. And he called me a cunt. And I told him to get the fuck out of my house, to leave. I was done with him. I was done with all the arrogance. He was gambling our bill money away. He was, doing whatever the hell he wanted. And basically, I was left to work a shit ton of hours to support the kids and keep a roof over our heads. So I just told him to get the hell out. He grabbed me by the throat and pushed me up against the pantry door in the kitchen. My daughter was asleep in her bedroom. My son wasn't there. He was at his dad's. Otherwise, that wouldn't have been pretty. And this guy grabbed a hold of my throat. And I had known because his mother told me, and he told me that he crushed his first wife's throat. And, he told me in the very beginning, I didn't think it was true. I thought he was just being exaggerating or whatever like that until I talked to her own mother. And he had told me in the beginning, if he ever grabs my throat, to do whatever I have to do to make him let go. And that was a red flag. But when it was good, I turned a lot of red flags into pink flags, as they say. Because you think back on the good times and you don't want to see the red flags. You look at them through your rose-tinted glasses. And, he grabbed my throat pretty hard. I still have problems swallowing since that day. I will choke for no reason. It's like I don't even know how to swallow sometimes. Well, how I got away from him whenever he had me grabbed and I could breathe, but barely. I freaking brought my knee up to his nuts as hard as I could and pushed him off of me. Because I wasn't going through that to where I damn near passed out like I did with the first husband. And I told him to leave. He wouldn't leave. He calls his mom and his best friend, tells him he's such a monster. The best friend tells me, you've got to do what you got to do. And I'm like, he won't fucking leave. I'm like, I paid for this place. I'm not leaving. He needs to go. And his mom, is like, well, he didn't mean to do that, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, all right, well, everybody talked me into staying with him. Once my daughter found out about it, my daughter was pissed. Mom, why are you still here? Mom. Back to the manipulation and the mind control. I wasn't healed from that for that second marriage and that abuse. And before I jumped into another relationship, I'm going to tell you that now. And I was very, very codependent, not like I am now. And there came a time several months down the road, this happened in the same house, that we'd been fighting. And then I mouthed off something. And I told him that one of his buddies, I had to block him on Facebook because he sent me an inappropriate video of him touching himself. I said, I blocked the guy, just to have respect for my husband. I let him know. He slapped me so hard that it bounced my head off the headboard. And he lost 3 teeth that day. Still to this day, that guy will tell you I have one hell of a right hook. And he convinced me to keep him around for a little bit longer. And I told him if he ever laid hands on me again, I would put a bullet between his eyes. And then I sold all my guns because I knew I would. And after that, things got a little bit better. But then he decided to cheat, and that's how we ended up divorcing. And, he physically abused me, and I didn't leave him. Why? Because I was codependent. I was stuck in that, I can't do it without him. It's better with 2 of us. I don't want to be alone. I understand the thoughts that go through your head. I'm not going to get into some of the worst stuff that I've been in. I'm not going to do that. Now, I got away from him. and I was single for 7 months and met a new guy. He wasn't physically abusive at all. It just turned into where the red flags just kept popping up and I couldn't ignore them anymore. And we ended up splitting up about 6 months ago. And after the 6 months, I have had this journey of healing and releasing all of this negativity that has built up over the years of being abused by men. And, my son's father, we were on and off together for 7 years. And he never hit me. I'd actually dated a guy before him that he actually came and stayed with me to keep me from getting hit. He was kind of like my savior back then. And here I am at, 17 years old? Yeah, 17 years old, because I was living out on my own right before I turned 17. And that's because I grew up in an abusive household, emotional, mental, physical. Try being a kid getting let at crystal ashtrays thrown at your head or glasses full of tea thrown across the living room at you. Getting knocked out of the front door because your friend bolted on you at a graduation party and your mother was at work and you had no way home, so the parents had you sleep in the house, had all those girls sleep in the house and the boys sleep outside in the garage, leave her a voicemail on the home phone, get home, open the door and get knocked right back out of it. Yeah. So what you put your kids through, what they see is the type of relationships that they go to. And it molds them into what they tolerate. You allowing yourself to be beat in front of them, they think that they need to be your protector. They learn to be better than you 90% of the time. But when I see things where, the kids stand up for the mother and the kids die because they're beat so bad by the guy. No man is worth that for your kids. Your kid's life is not worth more than yours. And you both together, you've got to get away. I mean, I know sometimes you have no hope that you can get out of it. You need money. I'm going to tell you right now, I still have a fund. It's not very much money now because I've actually had to use it. And I haven't been saving lately. But I had a fund that was my escape fund, is what I called it. Nobody had access to it. Nobody knew I had it. But I made a pact with myself that if I ever got into an abusive situation and nobody would help me, I always had a way to get out, always had a way to get me and my kids out. And now that I'm single, I've spent some of the money on stuff that I've needed and that my kids have needed. So I don't really have that fund now. And I've learned to watch for those red flags and not turn them pink anymore, that if they start showing me red flags, I'm out. Simple as that. You start showing me a controlling nature, you start video calling me, and that's all you do is video call me. I automatically know where this is going to escalate to. I know that you're going to be wanting me to send you pictures of where I'm at, or always video calling me to see my surroundings and stuff like that. Yeah, no, that's controlling, that's manipulative. I'm not going to do it. Once you learn to see the signs and the red flags, you won't put up with it anymore. And once you're able to heal yourself, and if you need someone to talk to, hit me up on my Gmail. Leave a comment here with your email address and I will get back to you. If these videos that I post of all different stuff that I've gone through even helps one person, then I know that I've done good. If this video itself can save one person, it's not in vain. Now, I'm going to leave a link to the hotline.org for domestic abuse in the description box, as well as the phone number and the TTY for the hearing impaired, because even they get abused and they have no way to tell anybody sometimes. But reach out to somebody. Tell a trusted friend. Tell somebody you know that will have your back and get you out of there, or help get you out of there. I've had to rebuild my life so many times, whether it's getting a new house and rebuying everything, which I just did this last time and I wasn't even in an abusive relationship, But I know of so many people that have gone through way worse than I have, and they have survived, and they've helped me heal along this journey. I know some people who have put up with that kind of abuse, they haven't healed and they're already in another marriage. And they're not trying to heal themselves. They still have triggers and they still have where they hold what their exes did against their new husband. I am guilty of that. But now that I found my way and I'm healing from everything and I'm still releasing everything that I've gone through, I'm not trying to get in a new relationship. I tried. The guy finally texted me back about a month later and said, I don't want a relationship right now. It's like, whoa, dude, that's off the table now. I'm like, neither do I. I'm perfectly fine alone because I know that I love myself more than anybody else could love me at this time. And if you're not on the same, say, frequency as I am, it's not going to happen. And I get hit up on my Facebook page all the time by guys, and I'm like, I'm not interested, guys. Sorry. I won't even read the messages. I just delete them and make a post, quit messaging me because I'm not interested. And until you take back your power from these guys, and I'm not telling you to hurt them, but you do whatever you have to do to get away if they're physically hitting you or trying to kill you. Do whatever it takes. And that is why there is self-defense. But if you wait till they're sleeping after they beat you, it's called premeditation and it don't work. And do not refer them to my video because that's not justification. Just because I threatened the guy doesn't mean I did it and I got rid of the gun so I wouldn't do it, because I am that strong of a woman that if you are going to cause me bodily harm, I'm going to hurt you way worse. I'm telling you now, take self-defense lessons. What was that Julia Roberts movie years ago where she learned how to swim and then went out on the boat and then acted like she drowned to get away from her abusive husband? And eventually he found her wedding ring in the toilet. I can't remember the name of that movie right now. But she did what she had to do to get away from him, and she didn't have kids. But if you have kids and you keep getting abused and they start getting abused and they get taken away from you, leave that person. Get your kids back and don't ever go back into a situation like that. Learn those signs. I've had a bad picker of men my entire life, obviously. And I'm learning not to pick those kind of mans, never to lower my standards for someone again. To set the bar high and make them jump over it. To establish boundaries early on in a relationship. Don't help them with money. Don't do this for them. Don't do that for them. Don't lend them your car. If they don't have a car, they don't have a job, they don't need you. Because I've seen that a lot of men that are like that, or they're drug addicts, or they get back into drugs, and even some weed smokers will beat the crap out of you. Alcoholics especially. But once again, I'm going to leave those numbers and that website link in the description box below. If you need someone to talk to, and I'm going to hashtag this domestic violence, if you need someone to talk to that has experienced a lot of stuff that I haven't went over on this video, hit me up. I will talk to you. I'm not a trained counselor. I'm not a licensed counselor. I'm just someone who will listen to your story and give you advice, but it's up to you to take that advice. Because your life is worth more than anything. And if somebody says that they love you and they beat the crap out of you, they don't love you. And if they blame you for their problems, they have a lot of growing up to do. Men and women get abused. There are some crazy women out there that knock the hell out of a man, and a man will let them because they were taught not to hit a woman. Now, I was raised that if you put yourself in a position as a man, you deserve to get yourself knocked down on your ass like a man. That's how I was raised. And also, my mom used to say that if you stay in an abusive relationship, you deserve it. I don't believe that 100%, because there are factors that keep people in there. And a lot of times it's mind control. It's manipulation. It's that codependency, and we all have to learn how to be independent and stand on our own 2 feet. I've been a single mom a few times, and if it wasn't for my mom watching my kids while I worked 60 to 80 hours a week to provide for them, I don't know what I would have done. I would have probably never gotten out of that cycle. And now that I'm older, I'm almost 40 years old. I'll be 40 next year. And I don't want that type of relationship again ever in my life, because I've been in serious relationships since I was 17. I was in a 7-year relationship, then a 9-year relationship, and then a 4.5-year relationship, and then almost a 1-year relationship. You see how they're getting shorter after the more abuse that I have, and the red flags that I've seen before. And it's like, oh no, I've seen this pattern before. And you watch it and you wait for the other shoe to drop. And before it gets to that point, now you're strong enough to walk away. And this last one wasn't even abusive. It was more of a codependency issue than it was anything. And I seen that and I pulled back, because if we both can't be independent, if we are codependent on each other, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. Yeah, I miss him like crazy sometimes, but the hurt and the pain of what I went through is still there. And even though I forgive him, I haven't quite gotten over it yet, and I'm not taking that into my next relationship. So, and I thought I had gotten over it, and I hadn't. It takes a while. And 6 months now, I have been healing from everything from my childhood all the way up until now. That's a bunch of shit I've been through. Now I'm going to go ahead and end this video. Like I said, reach out for help if you need it. Get out of those situations. And I understand with this whole quarantine stuff, some people can't get away. There's a way. Break the fucking quarantine. Walk out that damn door. What are they going to do? Arrest you for leaving with your kids because you guys are being beat? Yeah, screw that. You tell the cops to go up there and arrest that motherfucker. Excuse my language, but no. Now's the time to take a stand, because I've seen it get worse. And in the news, social media, stuff like that, it's time. I want you women, and even you men, to stand up on your own 2 feet and say that's enough and walk away. It's going to be hard. Trust me, it's hard. You feel hopeless. You feel like you don't have anything. You have fears of what you're going to do, where you're going to go. And I'm not going to quote the Bible to you, but it does say in there, "O ye of little faith," or something like that. Does he not clothe the birds, that kind of stuff in that verse. I'm not going to go grab my Bible to read you the verse. Now, if you trust, and I'm not saying you have to be a believer of God, everybody has to find something to believe in a lot of times. And a lot of times they turn to religion. It gives you hope. It does. I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but I'm saying that you will be provided for by a higher power if you get out of that situation, and that person will reap their karma eventually. You never know how or when, but they will get their karma for what they did to you. Now, once again, reach out to me, get a hold of somebody that you know and trust, and talk to them, and get yourself, and if you have children, get them out of that situation, because your kids don't need to see you being beat, because it fucks them up in the head pretty bad. And when that person's angry and you're not around, say you're at work, you don't know what they do to your kids, and their kids could be too scared to tell you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this, and I hope it helped at least one person out there. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.